AITAH for being unsure about my marriage 15 years after she had an affair. My wife and I have been together for 20 years, married for 7 with 2 kids, 12 and 3. We were both our first serious relationship. Just after her 21st birthday, she took a job in our hometown while I lived and worked 45 minutes away in a larger city. She would often stay at her dad's house after work since she would get out late and it was a long drive. At first it was fine. She would come home on her weekends and I would go stay with her at her dad's on mine. We both work in the restaurant industry, so our schedules are weird. During this time, she started to hang out a lot with one of her dishwashers, who we both knew and had a vague friendship with before. I didn't feel super comfortable about it and voiced that to her, and she would get mad at me and tell me that I was jealous and controlling. I took this to heart and really tried my best to be more understanding, even though I felt uncomfortable. There were multiple times where she would not answer her phone and just ignore me for days. At one point, we decided to have a talk and she told me that she wasn't too sure about our relationship. I was shocked because I planned to spend the rest of my life with her, and we had always talked about growing old together. We ended up staying together, but my confidence was shaken. At the end of that summer, I was involved in a bad car accident and ended up in the hospital for some time, and then moving in with my parents so they could help me recover. She would visit me but was still distant. As I healed, we began to spend more time together again, and we seemed to go back to our old relationship, which I loved, but I still felt weird about what happened that summer. Fast forward a year or so later, we have moved into an apartment together and seem to be getting back on track. I was still on disability, but we were getting by, and I knew once I finished healing that I would be able to get back to work and we would be able to move on with our lives. One night, after a few too many drinks, I started asking her about that summer and about the guy that I was uncomfortable about. She denied it and once again started to get mad at me for not trusting her, but I wasn't going to let it go. I kept pushing her until she admitted that they had sex. She said it was just once and a terrible mistake and begged for my forgiveness. We fought for some time. She moved back in with her mom. I still loved her though. I couldn't imagine my life without her. I didn't have much to live for at that point, and she was my only shining star. She came home, I forgave her, and we moved on. She ended up getting pregnant around the same time, and we had our first daughter. I went back to work and managed to have a lot of success and now make more money than we ever dreamed. We got married, had another daughter, and were in love. Occasionally, usually after drinking, I would bring up the affair and try to ask questions. She would always tell me that she already told me everything and that she didn't remember anything else. She would get mad at me for bringing it up and I would usually end up letting it go. Last year, I was going to buy my daughter a 23andMe so she could learn about her heritage for Christmas. I ordered it, and when it came, my wife freaked out. She demanded that she see the results first. I was confused and upset at her, basically saying that my daughter might not be mine. She immediately took it back, said she was just confused about the timing, and said that everything was fine. At this point, I had had enough. I told her she needed to go to a therapist, and I did the same. I told her that she needed to come clean about everything. Eventually, she admitted to me that it was on just once, but an ongoing thing for about a month. Finding this out 14 years later was like it happened all over again. The fact that she had lied to me for that long and only told me this now after I demanded it. She never volunteered information and mostly said she just didn't remember and would get mad at me for demanding an answer. A year later, and we are both in individual therapy as well as couples. I still don't believe she was or is being honest with me, and it drives me insane. Anytime I bring it up, she gets mad and says she told me everything, and she feels like I am just trying to catch her in a lie, which isn't not true, I guess, but the look of guilt on her face tells me there is more. We have a family now. I love my kids. I love my life. I have a good job and make good money. She mostly works from home and takes care of the little one. I still love her, but I'm struggling to get over this new revelation. I'm not sure if I would have been as willing to accept her back all those years ago if I would have known the extent. AITAH for not being able to move on.